Okay, so thank you for taking the time, first of all, Dr. Hilary.
Appreciate it, man.
Let's step there, by the way. Doctor. Why doctor?
Why doctor?
Mm.
I was in medical school for 3 years.
Oh,
I
okay.
did I did clinical medicine.
Clinical medicine.
Clinical medicine, yeah. So I'm a general practitioner.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You actually do practice
Now I
there?
stopped practicing.
Still
I
practicing
practiced for 4 years.
for 4 years.
Yeah. That was 20 what? 19, 20, 21, 22.
I didn't know that.
Mm.
Wow. Wow.
For 4 years, and
Mm.
then comedy started taking over, and I didn't have enough time.
But let us first go back. Where does comedy come from? At what point do you notice actually make people laugh? I can actually, be funny.
Uh, I wouldn't say at childhood because everyone is funny when they're kids.
Quite well, yeah. Quite
Everyone's
true.
funny when they're kids.
Mm.
But at least one of my fond memories of what really got me into stand up
Mm.
is when I was there's a time we're traveling from up country coming to Kampala
Mm.
with my mother, and we're in a bus,
Mm.
and it was it was that was the time buses now had TVs and
Mm.
stuff. So we're driving from Lira to Kampala, and throughout the journey,
Mm.
they're showing us Africa Laughs. Not Africa Laughs. It's called what? Night of a Thousand Laughs. I don't know if
Mm.
you've watched that video.
Not
You
really.
should check it out on YouTube. It's called Night of a Thousand
Night of a
Laughs.
Thousand Lives.
It's one of the best stand-up comedy productions from Africa. So
Oh,
you'll
wow.
find
Mm.
Pablo. Pablo
Mhm.
is there.
Mm-hmm.
Basket Mouth.
Mm-hmm. Nigeria.
Gordons from Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
Clint the Drunk was also on that show. So the whole journey from Lira to Kampala, that's like 5 to 6 hours.
Mm.
We're just watching stand-up comedy
Mm.
on the screen.
Mm.
And that is the first time I watched Pablo and all these guys, and I thought that's something I should do. It's really interesting.
Nice.
Then I got into it in high school.
Okay.
When I was in Ginger College, when I was in college in school,
Mm.
I joined. There was always that team, that club of students that reads news.
Mm.
I read news for the masses,
Mm.
and I felt it was a good opportunity to try out my stand up. So I joined the news team, and for me, I didn't read news. I would just write some interesting sketches.
Mm.
So I'd go on stage and I read my script, and people laugh. So I'd write about what happened. Maybe it was sports day, or it was prom, or whatever. I'd find the humor in that. Write it during prep. Then in the morning, Friday morning, I'd read it for everyone, and people would laugh.
Nice.
Yeah.
These
So
are years ago now. These are
that's
years
that's
ago.
that's like what? That's like 2011,
Wow.
2010. Yeah.
Wow. So, but like prior to this, did you used to get this compliment like, "Hey, you're funny," like, "Hey, like, not at
Yeah,
all."
the people will tell you that.
Every
But
now
for
and
you,
then.
think it's an everyday thing because
I know.
there are also people who make you laugh, so you feel
Mhm.
like everyone is funny.
So what's
Yeah.
obviously there's the high school performances, right?
Yeah.
So when was this first time on stage? Where let me go professionally. Let me step in here and see if it can work. When was that?
So professionally now, doing it to turn it into a business
Mm.
was 2017.
2017.
Yeah, 2017. I was still at campus at the time,
Okay.
and because when I was still in high school, I found I wanted to do it professionally,
Mm.
but I would have a back and forth with my parents because you're in school
Mm-hmm.
and then you want to do comedy, so they're like,
Mm.
what, first finish school. But when I was at campus, when at university now, you have a little bit of extra freedom.
Time, yeah.
Yes. So I left. I would leave the hostel, and then I'd come to the city and look for the comedy clubs.
Oh wow.
So I went to Laughters. At the time, there was Laughters
Laughters,
Comedy Club
Laughters,
in
yes.
Centenary Park.
Mm.
There was Comedy Files at Theatre La Bonita.
Mm.
Yes. So that's 2017. I joined Theatre La Bonita. I went there there was a competition called the Next Top Comedian.
Mm.
I had to borrow 20K to
To
join it because to subscribe was 20K. Yeah.
Okay.
So I took part in that,
Mm.
and that's when I got my first time performing at Theatre La Bonita in front of the big audience. Also, Laughters, I tried joining, but they couldn't let me in because I was still new. So they sent me to another group. It was called the Punchliners. It was also at Centenary Park.
So it's safe to say that there are actually structures to help young comedians who want
Yeah,
to
yeah.
get started. They actually exist. We have
Yeah.
comedy clubs. We have Laughter is still there. I don't think so.
Now, Laughter's closed.
Laughter's closed, but
Yeah.
we still have others currently.
There's still others coming. So for anyone who is out there and you're in Kampala, Uganda, and you want to start doing comedy, you can reach out to me. A lot of people reach out to me on social media because my number is on social media. So somebody just WhatsApps you and they're like, "Hey, I would like to do comedy like you. How do I start?" And I always tell them, there's people you can reach out to the people who tutor, the people mentor. Like there's a gentleman called Timothy Nyanzi. He's a very good friend of mine. He's a comedy mentor.
Mm.
Even me, I help out people
Mm.
whenever we have time and we
Mm.
meet people for rehearsals and
Mm.
stuff. You always find someone new. You're like, I'm so and so. I just joined the industry. I want to learn this.
Mm.
Then you help them. You help them work out their
Actually,
material.
you've mentioned a very good point. Rehearsal. So they actually
Yeah.
rehearsal. What's that process looking like from a real life situation to a joke to the punchline to bring it into a joke? How
Yeah.
does that look like for you, man?
Yeah. So you need to find a point of inspiration.
Mm.
So for me, mostly it's real life situations.
Mm.
So I will experience something and find it funny, and I'll say, okay, this is actually funny.
Mm.
Uh, then I find a way to write it down in a relatable way. So write a joke down in a way that everyone can say, I see what you mean. I've been
Mm.
there before, or I've
Mm.
seen that kind of thing happen.
Mm.
So after writing it down and testing it out, you can voice record.
Mm.
Sometimes you can just voice record so to get into character.
Mm.
Some people just jot down word for word. For me, I find it hard writing word for word. So I just
Mm.
record,
You
voice
record it.
record the idea,
Mm.
and then you perform at an open mic.
Mm.
So we have some open mics in town. So it's not a paid show. It's just an audience that has come to hang out,
Mm.
and then you perform for them. So you test your jokes there.
Mm.
Whether they fall flat or they work, you find out from the
From
audience.
there.
But also you can test it out in different events. Sometimes you can have an event at the theater.
Mm.
There's not necessarily comedy, maybe it's a drama or it's a play. And then you are around and you say, guys, in the midst of everything, can you give me a 5 minutes? I just want to test something.
Interesting.
Yeah. So you use every opportunity of an audience you can use to try out material.
To work on your
To
material.
work on new material, yeah.
But like, has it ever happened though? Have you ever gotten booed on stage? Like
Good.
it doesn't work today. Today now.
Not now,
Mm.
but earlier on, yes.
Earlier on.
Earlier on, yes. Because you're still learning how to handle different crowds.
Mm.
Like there's the attentive crowd.
Mm.
There's the attentive comedy crowd. So there's
Mm.
people who have come for a comedy show,
Mm.
and they have paid their ticket, they have sat down to watch you, they're having a drink, but they're actually there for comedy. That's the best audience, because their mind is already biased to enjoying anything you tell them. So that's the best audience. As compared to, then there's an audience that's attentive, but they're not necessarily there for comedy, right? Let's say like it's a corporate event. You're performing at an end of year party, or maybe there's a launch of something. Maybe a company has called you, we're launching this new product, so come and perform for our guests and whatever. And the guests don't know that there'll be comedy, so they didn't come for comedy. But then they're still giving you their attention. Now that is an audience you can also play with. But now one of the toughest audiences is an audience that is not necessarily there for comedy, and they're there for something else. So let's say you're performing in a bar. A bar is one of the hardest, especially in Kampala. You're performing in front of an audience that somebody has come out with, like friends of his, and they're just hanging out. They called each other like, oh, today let's go, let's hang out, let's party, let's have fun. So they're there to have fun. They didn't come for you. So it's very easy for you to become a distraction and a disturbance to them. So it's very hard to navigate such an audience in your early stages of stand-up.
Interesting.
Yeah. So those are the times when I got booed, because you're on stage and people are like, what is he doing for us? Let him go off.
Our money back. But let me ask you what's that motivation to keep going? Where does that come from? When you get booed? Why don't you be like, you know what, this is
enough?
Yeah, because it takes a lot for someone to stand in
come
front
back,
of people, get humiliated, and still come
back. Yes. I think it's what you want to get out of it, and also stand up to some point is like a drug, because the nights where you have a really good show, it outweighs the nights where you're booed. So you could be booed 4 times, but the one night you have a really good show, you'll feel so good, you won't count the other 4 nights.
You keep on chasing, trying to recreate that very same night.
Yes, you keep chasing that positive reinforcement. So yeah, because you enjoy it so much, you come back to it. And also sometimes you just take it as a challenge. Because I used to have trouble performing in front of bars and stuff, but the more I took it upon myself to be in those spaces, that's how I learned to navigate them.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So those challenges sometimes come as a blessing.
Interesting. So what I'm actually curious to know is, now we spoke about the structures, the comedy clubs that are available.
Yeah.
How about now on the managing side of beat, because
Yeah.
even the music, we're struggling with that. We have the musicians, the talent is there,
Yeah.
but the people to bring it to the opportunities are not really there, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
You mentioned one time Kevin Hart at the comedy show. You said Kevin Hart will show up, and it's just the manager and the crowd and
Yeah.
a few
Yeah.
other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now, how available are those people in Uganda, guys that can actually see talent and
Yeah.
take you to the opportunity?
Yeah. Yeah. I think Uganda is one of those countries where, and I think Africa in general,
Mm,
uh, where you have to chase your opportunities yourself.
mm,
Even when there's someone who probably picks you out from the crowd, they just want to exploit you, you know. So they're always asking themselves, what is it, what's in it for me,
mm,
and what they want to take the biggest cut.
mm,
So that has been one of the challenges with talent in Uganda is the talent is there,
mm,
but then you have to be self-driven
mm,
to find those opportunities. You have to
mm,
go to. I've had to pay for flights and tickets to go and perform in shows out of the country, out of my own volition,
mm.
because no one is going to come out and say, you know, I like
Let me
what you do.
support you.
Let me support you and see how we can make this work. Because even if they come, they'll say, you know, I want a 70% cut, and you're like, bro,
Mm,
I'm doing
mm,
all the
mm,
work.
mm,
So you'd rather push yourself,
mm,
and also sometimes the people who want to join you don't necessarily understand your dream and where you want to head.
mm,
So someone can join you and then they start dictating how you should perform. They say, no, the way I don't like how you, why don't you do it like this? You know, because I've had people who have told me, why don't you add more Uganda in your comedy? You know that kind of. But when you're telling someone the kind of comedy I'm doing, I want it to cross borders,
mm.
and they're like, no, but if you have more Uganda, then you'll really be a big guy in Uganda. I'm like, I don't want to be a big guy in
I know,
Uganda.
only,
I want to
we
go
want to go
beyond. Yes.
everywhere.
So there are people you meet like that, and you realize you do not really match. You just have to part ways and push it your
So
own way.
basically, the creative freedom, they kind of affect your creative freedom
They
because they want to
kind of
have
affect it.
an input
Yes.
on that as well.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
until you find a team that really understands
Mm,
where you're heading and
mm,
how you want to structure your craft,
mm.
that is the only way you can push yourself.
So basically, people can say it's a mindset issue for now.
Yeah, yeah. For now.
Because guys like Trevor Noah, what was so different for them? Because Trevor
Yeah,
Noah.
but if you follow most comedians, if we look at comedians from Africa who have made a name for themselves globally. So if you pick out Lois Ogola, you pick out Trevor Noah, you pick out Deliso Chaponda, you pick out all these guys.
I only know Trevor Noah by the
You
way.
know Trevor Noah,
Yeah,
yes. So if you look at Trevor Noah's story,
mm,
you'll learn that he's doing exactly what I'm doing.
mm,
Is you start as a young comedian,
mm,
you push yourself, you build an audience, you start doing shows, people come for your shows, they support you, brands start associating with you, you start growing financially and economically, and you know, even in your art. And then what next do? You challenge yourself to go beyond your country. So Trevor decided to leave South Africa and start going all over Africa and also performing in the UK.
In the UK, okay.
It's him putting his money to go and start doing tours in the UK.
In the UK,
but you're investing in yourself. And it is when he was there that he got a call from the US. But it is you pushing yourself, challenging yourself and putting yourself out there so that the world can know about you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Because I used to wonder, like, this guy, like, did this happen overnight? Because man,
No.
He has
by the time he was called, he was already a big star.
In Africa at least, he had built that.
He had built the audience
well.
in Africa, in SA, to a point where the first phone call he received from the Daily Show when he was in the UK, he was doing a tour in the UK.
He was touring in the UK.
That he turned down the offer. He said, you know what? We'll talk later. I still have a tour. I have fans that have come to watch me.
Wow.
So that's it. You first have to build yourself to a point where you are self-sustaining as a brand.
And right now, as a brand, Dr. Hilary, would you say, according to the goals really of acquiring a fan base locally, how is that going for you?
I think it's going well. It's growing exponentially, I would say, because last year, the success I had last year is not even half of what I had this year.
Wow.
And I can only wait for next year, because next year I have the beauty about having a very focused mindset is you set out to do certain things, and when you achieve them, you set out to do even bigger things. So the things I did last year, I said this year there's certain things I want to set out. I always set a number of shows I want to do within Uganda and outside Uganda. The number of countries I want to travel to. Every year I want to travel to at least 2 new countries. You know, so that you start putting your brand in different places. Yeah, but my goal for next year, I want to do Europe next year. I was supposed to do this year, but I got a bit caught up. So next year is when I'm planning to do a few countries in Europe.
Nice.
Yeah, but all that comes from yourself, self-motivation, and saying I want to do this, and you go and do it. Yeah.
Interesting. So you mentioned Salvador earlier on.
Yeah.
Any other local inspiration? Would you count him as an inspiration first of all?
Definitely.
Definitely.
I think as far as stand-up goes, not comedy in general, but as far as stand-up as a sect of comedy goes, I think for me Salvador is still unmatched in as far as putting the Ugandan flag out there. Because any comedy audience out of Uganda that you ask which comedian do you know from Uganda, they'll say Salvador. They can also say Anne Kansime, although she's not for stand-up because she's sketch comedy and the like. But if you're talking about stand-up, Salvador will always ring a bell.
Nice.
Yes.
Actually, since you have kind of broken it down your films here, sketch comedy.
Yeah.
There is surely an audience that has been underserved in Uganda of just pure English comedy. Just brain work, you understand?
Yes.
But there's also so much of sketch comedy.
Yeah.
So is it a safe assessment if someone says the sketch comedy overshadows the stand-up? The stand-up. Is that a safe assessment? Or holds back the stand-up?
Maybe in terms of the multitudes and I think the numbers out there. There's a lot of videos. Because today there's so many comedians. If you're just making it a wide scale and you're covering everything, there's so many comedians. Because every time I'm on TikTok and swiping or Facebook, you always see a new face, somebody doing an interesting sketch, and it's really funny. I'm like, this guy is a very good comedian. So sketch comedy is I would say it's quite easy to do, because me and you can just sit here and say, man, let's do something. Let's do something about maybe a loan officer coming to get back his money, and then you shoot a 2 minutes thing and you throw it up and it gets a lot of views. So sketch comedy is like the hack of comedy. It's the easiest for people to do.
Yeah, and then eventually they do find hard time transitioning from sketch to stand-up, which is most times impossible.
Because of many things. Because sketch comedy, first of all, you're in front of a camera, which means you can delete a take that isn't good. You're like, I didn't like that part. Let's delete. Let's go again. Like, okay, this would be better. Let's try again. So you can have 10 takes. By the time you release the final clip, it's perfect, you know, and people are saying, oh, this guy is really funny. But they don't know the 9 takes that he had to delete. As compared to stand-up, there's no take 2. If you're on stage, people are watching you live, so you should have mastered your work, your interaction with the audience. There are things that happen in real time that you didn't plan for. You know, you're in the audience and somebody shouts something or somebody says something, and then you have to have a conversation with them or see how to manage that. So that's what's because now starting out as a stand-up comedian, you already have the advantage. Because most people start with sketch, doing skits and posting them online. Find somebody has 5 million followers, a very big following. Sure. And then an event promoter books them for an event. And then when they come, they can't do skits on stage. They have to do stand-up. Yeah. So they're already putting the cart before the horse. As compared to you started with stand-up. So even if you do sketch and people call you, you already know what you're going to do on stage. So I've started doing some sketches and skits these days. I
believe so. I believe, like you said, the sketches can push you faster, especially
they can push you
bring the audience in social media and everything else.
Yeah. And also sketch content. These skits, the content is easier to manufacture. You can sit down and in 5 minutes we have like three skits that we can shoot.
Actually, is it safe to say that the sketch comedy has held back Ugandan comedy to some extent?
Yeah, because sketch is all over the place.
It's all over the place.
It's
way easier.
It's way easier, and so people get more attention there as compared to stand-up.
The stand-up.
So you realize with stand-up, but also not entirely, because there are very many things that are holding back stand-up comedy. The structures are not as diverse and efficient. How many comedy shows do you know that run every week?
I didn't know until I came to yours, and I had a few.
Yes. So because of that, we have a few shows running, as compared to if you want to reach the level of where the US is or where England is and all these other big comedy countries. You'll find here where we are in Chisas, you'll find there would be like 2 comedy clubs that run every week. Not every week, every day. You'll find every day there's a comedy show.
Open mic.
There's an open mic, and then there are like paid shows from maybe Monday to Friday. to a point where stand-up comedy becomes a plot. It's not a one-off event. Like, oh, Dr. Hilary has a show this next month. We should plan for it. But you should know that this building here, there's comedy every week. So it should, so it should be a business that stands on its own.
Oh.
Yeah.
Speaking of business, and this is something that I noticed at the events that you held last weekend.
Yeah.
Partners and corporate guys.
Yeah.
We don't seem to have many that are checking out comedians.
I think it comes down to a lot. It comes down to what you want. Because now that show that I did was an intimate show.
Okay.
So I even told the guy, I was my producer and everyone, I told them, nah, let's not look for partners and stuff. Because one, they take a lot of your time. Chasing them here and there, making the artwork with their products and all of that. Two, sometimes they want the show a certain way. So they'll tell you, we are giving this amount of money to support you, but we want the stage to have our banners behind, to have this and that. And for me, I just wanted an intimate show with just me on stage, and that's it.
But they're actually open to the idea.
They are open.
The corporate guys are.
They are open. Yes, we have worked with them, with many of them. Right now, we are doing a comedy tour around, and we have drink sponsors. We have
there's a comedy tour going on.
Yes. So we have people sponsoring.
So can we hear more about the tour?
There's a tour. It's organized by Salvador. It's called Kings of Comedy.
Oh yeah, I've seen.
Yes. So we have done. I've so far been in which one? Because there's a few that I haven't been around because I've been busy. But we've done in Mbale, we've done in Barara, we've done Jinja, we've done Fort Poto, we've done Hoima. Where else are we going? We are lining up Gulu, Lira, I think Ajumani, Arua, Soroti.
So basically countrywide tour.
Yeah, we're going around. And we're doing it twice, so we're going to go back to Mbale again. So we're how well is the
comedy fraternity in Uganda? Do you guys get to come together and help each other, as far as opportunities and things like that, or there's gatekeeping in comedy as
well? I think it's fairly open. I wouldn't say gatekeeping. I think it's fairly open. Like I said, it comes down to your own volition. How much do you want something? Because I'll give an example. If we are all comedians and I know something. But if you don't come and ask me, why would I call you to tell you? You see what I mean? So if I want to enter certain doors, all I have to do is ask someone who has been there. And I say, no, it's fine. Let me give you so and so's number. Please talk to him. He will help you do that. Because there are times I've wanted to do interviews on TV and maybe get news in papers and all of that. And starting off as a young comedian, you don't know who to talk to. But then you talk to people who have been in the game longer than you. And they just say, no, let me call so and so. And he will get back to you.
Nice.
And then in 2 days tops, you have what you've been looking.
So that's very good to hear, because sometimes, especially in this creative industry, you find gatekeepers.
Guys
will just see young talent and be like, nah.
Yeah.
Mostly because they see the potential in
it. Yes. And they feel challenged.
Exactly. So now you actually did mention Salvador a few times.
Yeah.
Who's an inspiration? When did you first meet him? How does that happen?
The first time I met Salvador was at it was here in Naria.
As a fan.
Naria as a fan, but also as a young comedian.
As a young comedian. Also.
Yeah, that was Naria. At there was a bar owned by Anne Kansime.
Oh wow!
It was called Kubi's Bar and Restaurant, and we used to have an open mic there. So she started an open mic for young comedians. That was 2017 when I started comedy.
So fairly recent.
So because I didn't have many places to perform starting out, Kubi's was every last Monday of the month. They would have an open mic, so that's where we would perform. So he comes through one of the Mondays and then checks us out, and we take photos, we laugh, and then he gives you a pep talk here and there. So that's the first time I met him. Then eventually I joined his he had the comics. There was that comedy competition that I also took part in, so that's when we get to know each other even more. And then since then we have been working a lot.
Nice, interesting.
But also, with comedy, it's beyond just the business. You also have to think in terms of relationship and how to build camaraderie among yourselves. So you become friends with the people you work with. So it's easier for someone to help you if you're friends with them. True. As compared to if you're always burning bridges and fighting people here and there, then it becomes hard to work with you.
But so what do you think is the future of comedy in Uganda? Who's going to be that guy to take us on another level, put us on the map? Is it going to be a sketch comedy guy? Is it going to be a stand-up guy? What do you think it's going to look like?
I know for certain it's a bright future, because I know comedians who are coming up who are really good.
Okay.
Also, the beauty about the industry is the more people join it, the bigger it becomes. Because when you're joining, you think the industry is the people who are already there, but even you who is joining, the moment you join, you're part of the industry. So me putting up a show, the industry is putting up a show. Somebody else doing a show out of Uganda, the industry is doing a show out of Uganda. So it's every individual piece on the chessboard that makes the game what it is. So for me, I'm excited. I think looking at where even the internet has really helped, because back then it was just television. If you're not on TV, nobody will know who you are, and that's how the first people in stand-up in Uganda made it, because they were on TV every week. So that's how we got to know them. But right now, I don't need to be on TV. You'll just see me on your screens here and there, and you'll know who I am. So any young comedian out there can just start off with that. People start with phones, and there's millions and millions of people who will follow you from there. So that by the time people are watching you live, they already know who you are.
So for those who are starting up the stand-up comedian, so you basically write the joke, you cram the joke, right?
You write the joke. I don't think cram is the word. I don't think cram is the word.
You gotta familiarize yourself with the joke.
You gotta familiarize yourself with the joke and understand the context of the joke, and your way to deliver it. So the beauty about that is you can say the joke different ways and still have the same impact. So you don't need to cram it that I entered the car. You can say I started driving. I jumped into the car. Whatever way you say it.
No, I think I think I was looking more on how do you keep track while on stage of I'm here.
While on stage, you have to structure your set. So you have to know which joke goes after the other. So now that's where you have to master that this will come after this will come after this. But it also helps if your writing is more structured, so that you don't confuse the audience. You don't just leap. You don't talk about smartphones and then before you know you're talking about barriers. Then you're talking about I don't know, landslides. So you have to write in a way that is sort of relatable material stuck together. Yeah.
Whereby there's an order
somebody follows you and they feel you're telling them a story, in one whole set.
It's like Dave Chappelle. Actually, this is the point I wanted to touch on, I think, last. But now, see, like sketch comedy for me, I just avoid it because it's like you're giving me a choice to laugh.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? Like,
the
jokes are too obvious.
It
becomes boring.
Yeah.
And I think, to me, there's a huge crowd that is very, very interested in the Ugandan comedy, but that's all there is to offer right now.
Yes.
Those, because you see, even the sketches, sometimes they'll put an audio laughing. We don't need all that. Say the joke. If it's funny, I'm going to be down laughing. Do you think it's a fair assessment to say that there's refusal to think to some comedians? They go the easy route and stick there, and it holds back everyone.
I think it's because it works, and the audience wants that. It's almost the same. It's a similar conversation to the whole explicit content. People telling jokes that are explicit, that you cannot say in front of your children and your parents and the like. It's because there's an audience that actually appreciates that. Because when we go to these shows and somebody comes on stage, I come on stage and I do a clean set and I have a fair welcome. And then somebody comes on stage, has a clean set and he has a bad show. Then the third person comes and just does everything dirty. And the crowd goes wild and they give him money. Why won't he come back and do the same thing? Because that is his bread and butter. I mean, if you've come and you've told dirty jokes and you've made 3 million on stage, why next time you'll come with even dirtier jokes?
I mean, it's obvious.
Yes. So it's the same thing also with those kind of content that is being released. When somebody makes content online and they release them, and it might be hack or weak in a way, it lacks a lot of intellect. But it has a lot of views and shares. Person's like, you know what, I'll just keep doing
go with this.
Yeah.
I guess people have to be picky and choosy about what they want, you know.
So the thing about stand-up is you cannot make everyone laugh. So it humbles you as you grow in the industry. You learn that not everybody will like you. So look for the people who like you and just give them more. Yes. So you can have 500,000 fans as long as they are loyal to the craft and they appreciate your work. You just keep feeding them.
Anyway, I guess we shall be engaged. But let me hear. So what's next now for Dr. Hilary? What should we be looking out for?
Personally, I'm looking to go beyond Uganda. So I want that, like I said, next year my goal is to do shows in Europe.
Next year.
And challenge myself to those levels.
Any more shows coming up this year?
any more shows this year. Now I'm booked for a lot of shows. So personally, I'm not seeing myself doing a show, but it will depend.
Okay.
If I get a good period, I can probably do a show in November or December. Yeah.
Anyway,
just the similar show, just a small show, 50 people tops. That's it. Yeah.
No, I actually enjoyed it last time. It was very intimate, like you said.
Yeah.
The comedians were fantastic.
Yeah.
To be honest, I walked in there.
Yeah.
I knew Dr. Hilary would kill it. I didn't know the whole lineup would kill it. I was not ready for the lineup.
But all those are amazing.
Yeah, all those guys did an amazing job.
Yeah.
So, anyway, thank you very much for doing this. Thank you very much for doing this. I think we're going to wind up here.